This story is titled, "My Wife Said I Was Too Sensitive When Her Ex Slept on Our Couch for a Week." I didn't say a word until I left the house to him in the divorce agreement. She laughed until the judge asked her to hand over the remote. Now she lives with her ex and no Netflix password. You know that little voice in your head that says, "Hey, maybe this is a red flag?" Mine was screaming for 7 days straight while my wife's ex was living rent-free in our living room, eating my leftovers and using my Netflix profile like he owned the place. But I kept my mouth shut. Like an idiot. Like the world's most accommodating doormat. Let me back up before I start foaming at the mouth. I'm Josh, 38M, suburban furniture warehouse manager by day, underappreciated husband by night. Married to Rachel, 36F, who works part-time at a boutique and full-time as a professional ignorer of boundaries. We live just outside of Cincinnati in a modest 3-bedroom house I bought before we got married. She likes to say it's our house, but spoiler, it was legally mine right up until I dropped it on her like a flaming piano in the divorce agreement. Anyway, the third character in this emotional hostage situation is Kyle, 39M, her ex-boyfriend from college who needed a place to stay for a few days. Yeah, that's what she said when I came home from work and saw his crusty duffel bag sitting in the foyer like a ticking time bomb of unresolved feelings. Now, I'm not the jealous type. I'm really not. I've never scrolled through her phone or tracked her location or any of that psycho stuff. But when your wife's ex is shirtless in your kitchen drinking the last of your orange juice and telling you how chill your couch is, something in your brain just fractures. Rachel brushed off my concerns like I was the one being weird. "You're being too sensitive," she said. "It's just Kyle. He's harmless." Meanwhile, Kyle is lounging on our sofa like it's the damn Ritz-Carlton, leaving beard hairs in the bathroom sink and calling my dog, "Bro, my dog." I let it slide for a day. Then 2. Then an entire week. I kept waiting for her to say, "Thanks for being understanding, babe, Kyle's leaving tomorrow." But nope. Every time I brought it up, I got hit with this condescending tone like I was some insecure man-child who couldn't handle a little house guest. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I didn't even tell her what I was planning. But I started sleeping in the guest room. That was step 1. Step 2? I called my lawyer. By the time Kyle finally packed up his cargo shorts and wandered back into whatever frat house dimension he came from, I had already started separating accounts, documenting assets, and making copies of every receipt Rachel had ever left in her car like confetti. She didn't see it coming. Not even when I told her I wanted a break and started staying with my buddy Nate. Not even when I stopped responding to her texts unless they were about the dog. She thought I'd get over it. She thought I'd come crawling back. Until the judge asked her to hand over the remote. And that's when it hit her. The house? Mine. The TV? Mine. The Netflix account? Guess who pays for that? She laughed, actually laughed, when she heard my demands during mediation. Laughed until the judge ruled in my favor and told her she'd have to vacate by the end of the month. Now she lives with Kyle in his studio apartment above a vape shop. And yeah, they don't have the Netflix password. So where were we? Yes, Kyle the couch goblin had finally slithered out. Rachel was trying to pretend nothing happened, and I was quietly orchestrating the most passive-aggressive exit since the Trojan horse. Let's talk about the house. Now, I didn't just give her the house. No. I gift-wrapped it. Like, Home Alone style, after Kevin's done booby-trapping the whole place. The woman wanted her space, right? So I gave it to her. But I took everything that made it livable first. The TV? Gone. And not just gone, replaced with a dusty box TV I found in my buddy's garage. The smart speakers? Packed up. Kitchen knives? Took. She can go chop onions with a spoon now for all I care. The couch where Kyle had his little man naps? Hauled the Flea Hotel straight to the dump. Even the good shower head? Unscrewed and replaced with the one that sprays like a dying squirt gun. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? You have no idea. The judge said she could have the house, so I gave her a house, not the home I built. Difference. Now, here's where things get spicy. Kyle, it turns out, applied for a job at the same furniture warehouse I manage. I didn't find out right away. One of our HR people just dropped his resume in my inbox, and I did a literal double take. Name? Kyle B. Resume? Paper thin. Work experience? Something about freelance consulting, which is code for has opinions and no job. Now, I could have just rejected the app and moved on. But something in me, some ancient, primal force, whispered, interview him. So I did. Picture this. Kyle walks into the office, wearing a wrinkled button-down and that smug, "I'm banging your ex-wife" smirk. He clearly thought I was going to be rattled. Joke's on him. I've been picturing this moment since the day he used my toothbrush by mistake. We went through the whole fake interview. I asked detailed questions about logistics, customer service protocols, supply chain operations, just watched his face glaze over like a gas station donut. He starts getting uncomfortable. Says, "Look, man, I think we both know this is awkward, but let's be adults here. Rachel said you might be petty about stuff." And I smiled. Real slow. The kind of smile that makes people check for exits. I said, "You know what, Kyle? I think you'd be a perfect fit for our warehouse team. Starting pay is minimum wage, but hey, you're used to mooching. We can train you." He didn't take the job. Shocker. 2 days later, I get a furious voicemail from Rachel accusing me of torpedoing Kyle's career, like he was about to become CEO of Amazon. She said I was acting vindictive and small. I responded with a text. "Kyle's been living in my house, using my couch, eating my food, watching my Netflix, and now he wants my job? Girl, pick a new theme." She didn't reply. Last I heard, they're arguing over rent in a one-bedroom where the neighbors blast death metal and someone smokes weed in the hallway 24/7. Meanwhile, I just had my first peaceful Sunday morning in 2 years. No shouting, no Kyle slapping his bare feet on my hardwood floor, and no Rachel pretending I'm furniture with a paycheck. You know what peace smells like? Coffee. My dog snoring. And no Axe body spray from a 39-year-old man-child on my pillow. All right, buckle up. By this point, Rachel's house, Reed, the shell of what used to be my house, is basically just drywall and bad decisions. She's still living there, with Kyle, last I heard, and the romance that bloomed on my couch is now wilting faster than a grocery store orchid. Not that I was stalking. Trust me, I was not checking up. But when your ex starts accidentally FaceTiming you at 1:37 a.m., drunk and ugly crying under a string of fairy lights, you start connecting a few dots. Let me rewind a bit. About a month after the divorce finalized, I started seeing someone. Her name's Jenna, 34F, and she's the complete opposite of Rachel. Down to earth, actually laughs at my jokes, and get this, has never once called me emotionally constipated. We met through a mutual friend at a cookout, and I swear the first time we talked, it was like my nervous system remembered what serotonin feels like. Naturally, as soon as I posted one photo of Jenna and me at a fall festival. Yes, we did the corn maze. No shame, Rachel magically texted me, "Hope you're doing okay. Just thinking about you today." Classic. I didn't respond, because I was busy holding hands and drinking cider like a functional adult. Cue the FaceTime incident. It's a Thursday night. Jenna's over, we're halfway through a horror movie, and my phone starts ringing with Rachel's name. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity and a deep-rooted urge for chaos won out. I answer and immediately regret it. She's in her kitchen, clearly drunk, mascara halfway down her cheeks, wearing one of my old hoodies. My hoodie. "Rachel, you didn't win that in the divorce, you klepto." She stares at the screen like she's trying to remember what I look like without a filter. "Oh," she says. "I didn't mean to call. Sorry. Or maybe I did." I blink. Jenna's looking at me like, do I need to pause this movie or are we about to see a live meltdown? Rachel starts rambling about how Kyle is different lately, how he's emotionally unavailable and spends all day recording his podcast about masculinity and crypto. I swear on my dog's life, she said the podcast is called Courage with a K. Then she leans into the camera and says, "You were boring, but at least you were stable." And that's when I lost it. I didn't yell. I didn't insult her. I just said, "Rachel, you treated me like a utility, not a person. You fed your ex leftovers in my house while I was working overtime to keep the lights on. You laughed when I walked out, and now you want to crawl back because Kyle's podcast only has 3 listeners and 2 of them are his burner accounts." Silence. Then she sniffled and said, "I just thought we'd find our way back to each other." "No," I said. "You thought you'd downgrade and I'd stay in the garage like a backup generator. But guess what? The power's on somewhere else now." I hung up. Jenna just raised her eyebrows and handed me another blanket like damn. The next day, Kyle messages me on LinkedIn. No words, just a request. The man who mocked my job title now wants to connect professionally. I almost sent him a Venmo request for emotional damages. You ever see one of those nature documentaries where the predator doesn't even bother chasing the prey, just waits for it to self-destruct? That's me now. I'm the damn jaguar in the tree, watching Rachel spiral with a hot cup of coffee and a front row seat. So here's how this disaster started. About 2 weeks after the drunk FaceTime fiasco, I start getting these coincidental sightings. Rachel just happens to show up at my gym. Happens to like Jenna's Instagram posts from burner accounts with names like selflovequeen_2025 and witchy healing candle. Real subtle. Then the diner incident. Now, this diner isn't just any greasy spoon. It's my spot. I've been going there for years. The owner, Linda, knows my order before I even sit down. Jenna and I go there every Saturday morning. Same booth, same pancakes, same chill vibe. This past Saturday, Rachel is already seated 2 booths over when we walk in. Hair curled, lipstick freshly applied, wearing that sweater she always said made her look mysteriously approachable. She's with a friend, fake laughing loud enough to rattle the sugar caddies. Jenna clocks her instantly. Doesn't say a word, just gives me this calm little smirk like, let's see what kind of circus this turns into. We sit. We order. I pretend I didn't just step into an ambush. 10 minutes in, Rachel accidentally drops her fork, makes a whole show of getting up to grab napkins, and surprise, spots me. Oh my God, Josh? Wow. What are the odds? I stare at her. Hi, Rachel. Jenna doesn't look up from her menu. Just says, you dropped something again. Your dignity, I think. Rachel freezes. You could hear the emotional whiplash. Oh, she says, voice tight. You must be Jenna. I've heard a lot about you. Funny, Jenna says. He only mentions you when he's changing the locks in the story. I nearly choked on my coffee. Linda from behind the counter actually snorted. Rachel mumbled something about needing to get back to her table, which was now empty, because her friend had wisely dipped the second Jenna opened her mouth. She slunk out 5 minutes later without even paying. Linda just waved it off and said, add it to her tab of bad decisions. Now here's the cherry on top. Kyle's podcast, Courage with AK, got review bombed. I'm talking 1-star ratings, roast-level comments, and memes flying faster than Kyle could delete them. Turns out Rachel's mom saw the podcast, or maybe Jenna accidentally shared it, who's to say, and was not impressed by her daughter's choice of new man-child. Top review read, I listened so you don't have to. It's like Joe Rogan's ego got trapped in a vape cloud and tried to sell me protein powder and fragile masculinity. Kyle posted a 6-minute Instagram live about haters and cancel culture, while visibly fighting back tears and vaping aggressively. Rachel commented, proud of you, babe, and immediately got ratioed by 3 dudes named Greg who all left L emojis. Last I heard, Kyle took the podcast down and posted a black and white selfie with the caption, sometimes kings fall so they can rebuild their throne. Meanwhile, Jenna and I just got back from a cabin weekend in the mountains. No exes. No drama. Just her, me, a roaring fireplace, and the sweet, sweet sound of not being someone's backup plan. By this point, Rachel's life was basically running on vibes, delusion, and the occasional free trial of reality. Kyle's podcast had crashed harder than his vape battery. Rachel's attempt to casually bump into me at the diner went viral on local Reddit. Thanks, Linda. And my new relationship with Jenna? Stronger than ever. So naturally, Rachel did what any totally well-adjusted ex-wife would do. She showed up at my workplace unannounced, wearing a suspiciously low-cut blouse, carrying a Tupperware of homemade cookies. And by homemade, I mean Pillsbury break and bake, because I've seen that woman try to boil water. I'm at the furniture warehouse, minding my business, trying to schedule deliveries and not have a stroke when Brenda from reception buzzes me and says, there's a woman here who says she's your wife? Pause. Ex-wife. She sounds unsure. Also, she brought baked goods? My stomach actually made a hell no noise. But here's the twist, Jenna was there too. She'd stopped by to grab lunch with me on her break, something we'd done a couple times before. Nothing romantic, just sandwiches in the break room and snarking about management's inability to replace the flickering light bulb. So I walk out into the lobby and, yup, there's Rachel, perched on the reception desk like it's prom night. Cookie container in hand. Smile tighter than Kyle's skinny jeans. Josh, she says, standing up like this is a reunion special. I just blink at her. What are you doing here? I was in the area and thought I dropped something off. I know you used to love my cookies. I opened the lid. Burnt edges. Still raw in the middle. Classic Rachel. Thanks, I said, but we've got a no-food policy in the building. Brenda's still recovering from Dave's mystery chili incident. She blinked, clearly not expecting rejection that fast. Then Jenna rounds the corner. Ponytail. Blazer. Holding 2 sandwiches and completely unaware she's about to walk into a Bravo reunion episode. Hey babe, I got the spicy mustard you like, she says, smiling. Then she sees Rachel and smiles harder. Oh, you must be the ex, she says, totally calm, like she's greeting a door-to-door preacher. Rachel stiffens. And you're Jenna, girlfriend. Also sandwich provider. Also, not here uninvited. She extends her hand like she's handing over a subpoena. Rachel doesn't take it. Instead, she turns to me and says, seriously? This is who you downgraded to? Jenna just laughs. Actually laughs. Oh honey, if I'm a downgrade, why are you still orbiting his life like a sad little Pluto? Silence. Brenda from reception literally gasped. Rachel starts to say something, but I cut her off. You need to leave, Rachel. This is my workplace, not the set of a soap opera. She storms out, cookie still in hand, heels clicking like a passive-aggressive metronome. Jenna takes my sandwich, opens it, and says, spicy mustard was a gamble. Worth it. We ate in the break room while the entire front office buzzed like a beehive on espresso. Brenda's already calling it the cookie showdown of 25. Oh, and one last update on Kyle. He's now rebranded as a high-performance masculinity coach on Instagram. His bio reads, empowering modern kings to reclaim their inner alpha. DM for rates. No beta energy allowed. Someone commented, didn't you cry during an unboxing video? And I haven't stopped laughing since. I didn't think Rachel could top her workplace cookie ambush, but I underestimated the power of unprocessed narcissism in a woman with nothing left to lose but the Wi-Fi she no longer has the Netflix password for. So, the barbecue. Every year, my family does a big cookout in late spring. We're talking cornhole tournament, overcooked hot dogs, my Uncle Gary's tragically optimistic karaoke, and my mom's signature potato salad that could start a war if misjudged. Jenna was finally going to meet the whole crew in one fell swoop. No pressure. It was going great. Jenna fit right in. She beat my cousin Tyler at cornhole in heels, held her own in a wine spritzer chug-off with my Aunt Darcy, and even got my emotionally constipated father to smile. I thought we were in the clear, until Rachel showed up. Uninvited. She rolled in like a discount Bond villain, black sundress, oversized sunglasses, and the world's fakest surprised face. Oh, I didn't realize this was your family's barbecue. I thought it was open to the neighborhood. We live on a dead-end road. There's no neighborhood. Just my parents, their goats, and a guy named Doug who only emerges to mow his lawn and mutter about Y2K. Jenna just raised her drink and said, bless her heart, in a tone that could curdle milk. But before I could even process what was happening, my mom appeared. Now, you need to understand something about my mother. She is a sweet, tiny Sicilian woman who bakes for the mailman but once ended a HOA meeting by throwing a lemon bar and declaring this is my street. She doesn't start fights. She ends bloodlines. She walks right up to Rachel, eyes narrowed like she's lining up a sniper shot with her soul, and goes, Rachel, honey, I thought you only showed up to places where men paid your rent and pretended your cookies were edible. Dead silence. Rachel opens her mouth, probably to gaslight the grass, but mom's not done. Let me guess. You thought you'd swing by, drop a few compliments on Josh, and stir up drama so your podcast boyfriend could do an episode about heartbreak and hustle culture. I almost choked on a rib. Then, Kyle appears. Yes, Kyle. Apparently Rachel brought him as backup, because nothing screams stable relationship like crashing your ex-husband's family function with the guy you left him for. Kyle, in a deep V-neck and beaded bracelets, walks right up to Jenna, who's standing there with her plate of potato salad like a damn goddess, and goes, Hey, I'm Kyle. You look familiar. You in wellness? You've got healer energy. Jenna smiles like she's about to perform a spiritual exorcism. I'm Jenna. I'm dating the man whose house you squatted in. Remember the couch? The one you napped on shirtless? While calling his dog bro. Kyle blinks, then looks at me, then says, swear to God, no hard feelings, man? My Uncle Gary snorted so hard he dropped his Bud Light into the grill. And then, my mom. Again. She claps once and says, you have 5 seconds to leave before I introduce you to my potato salad, with a shovel. They left. Quickly. Rachel muttered something about toxic masculinity and unresolved trauma, and Kyle tripped over a garden hose on the way out. Jenna toasted my mom with a Capri Sun and said, that was better than therapy. I've never been prouder to be genetically linked to a woman in orthopedic sandals holding a deviled egg tray like a weapon. At this point, if my life had a soundtrack, it would just be a single violin string being slowly pulled tighter until it snaps and launches into a banjo solo. Last we left off, Rachel got verbally vaporized by my mother at a family barbecue, and Kyle tried to flirt with Jenna like he didn't literally live off my Netflix account 2 months ago. After that public humiliation, you'd think they'd go into hiding. Maybe start a GoFundMe for emotional damage, or launch a couple's YouTube channel where they cry into smoothie bowls. Nope. They pivoted. Because of course they did. Rachel rebranded. Like a fallen influencer crawling out of the ashes of a promo code scandal. She's now officially, and I wish I was making this up, life alignment mentor. Her Instagram bio says, helping women escape cycles of negativity and reclaim their divine feminine. DM to elevate your path. There's a TikTok where she burns a sage bundle while ranting about people who vibrate at a low frequency. And if you listen closely, you can hear Kyle vaping in the background and asking if anyone's seen his shell necklace. But the real kicker? Rachel's mom met Jenna. Yep, the matriarch herself. The woman who once told me at Thanksgiving, "Josh, you're the kind of man women marry before they find themselves." Which age like milk. So one night, Jenna's scrolling her phone next to me, glass of wine in hand, and goes, "You're not gonna believe this." She shows me the message. It's a wall of text so long it probably is chapters. "Hi Jenna. I just wanted to reach out woman to woman. I know you and Josh are seeing each other, and I respect that. But I also know my daughter is hurting deeply right now. She's in a transformational phase. She's not perfect, but who is? Maybe you could find it in your heart to encourage Josh to be more forgiving and open his heart again." I nearly spit my drink. This woman watched her daughter publicly roast me for years, enabled Kyle to crash at our house, and now wants Jenna to suggest we reconnect? Jenna didn't reply. Instead, she posted a photo of us at a brewery with the caption, "Some people align their chakras. I align with a man who shows up, owns his SHT, and doesn't try to find himself in someone else's wallet." Asterisk. Rachel's response? She posted a TikTok titled, "When they can't handle your growth, they call it delusion," while doing yoga on a patchy lawn. Comments were limited. Now, let's talk about Kyle's retreat. Kyle launched a men's empowerment weekend at a rented cabin in rural Ohio. Said it was for reawakening the primal self. The flyer had wolves on it. I'm not joking. From what I heard, via Linda, our neighborhood information warlord, 5 guys showed up. One left after Kyle made them chant, "I am the thunder," in a drum circle. Another got injured during something called log tossing for dominance. Fire department got called when someone, Kyle, threw essential oils into the fire pit for aromatic awakening and it exploded. Retreat ended early. Yelp review said, "Felt like I paid $400 to join a cult run by a guy who owns 2 tank tops and no bed frame." Meanwhile, Jenna and I just got back from a weekend trip to Asheville. Hiked, laughed, ate enough biscuits to qualify for a carb intervention. No drama, no accidental FaceTimes. Just peace. Funny how that works when you cut out the emotional freeloaders and their backup dancers. So here we are. The last chapter in what started as a cheap plastic trophy and somehow evolved into a slow-burning psychological rom-com with spiritual warfare, emotional arson, and a guy named Kyle who thinks crystals can cure commitment issues. Let's recap the basics. Rachel tanked our marriage by inviting her ex to crash on my couch like we were hosting a frat-themed Airbnb. She called me too sensitive for objecting. I gave her the house and the divorce, but not the home. She laughed until the judge asked her to hand over the remote. She didn't. So I canceled the Netflix subscription and moved on. But apparently she didn't. It started last week when I got a letter. Not from Rachel. From Kyle. He'd apparently lawyered up. Sort of. The letter was from something called Mantra Legal Solutions, which, after some light Googling, turned out to be Kyle's cousin Greg, who failed the bar twice and now runs a justice-themed mindfulness brand out of a WeWork. Anyway, the letter demanded that I cease online harassment and reputation sabotage, referring to Jenna's very public roast of Kyle's fire pit fiasco and a meme I may have made involving his podcast tagline, "Reclaim Your Inner Alpha," superimposed over a photo of him running from a raccoon. I didn't respond. Because what do you even say to that? Then the podcast apology episode dropped. Title, "When the Past Still Hurts. A Message to the Haters and My Truth." I swear I'm not making this up. It was 42 minutes of Kyle dramatically breathing into the mic, talking about narrative distortion, toxic rescue dog energy, and how some women just aren't ready for men who cry during sunsets. At one point, he said, "I'm not bitter. I'm just awakening. And honestly, the joke's on them. Because I'm the one holding the remote now." Buddy, no, you're not. Because 3 days later, Rachel showed up at my house. Unannounced. Uninvited. Holding it. The remote. The same one she once refused to hand over in court because, and I quote, "It's symbolic of shared domestic control." She looked tired. Like all her crystals were out of charge. "Hey," she said. "I thought maybe it was time to return this." I stood in the doorway. Didn't say a word. She gave this little nervous laugh. "Come on, Josh. We had some good times, right? It's weird not talking." It was quiet for a beat. I could hear the wind chimes Jenna hung up last weekend. Then I said, "You only miss me because I finally stopped giving you access." Rachel blinked. Took a shaky breath. "I just thought maybe we could try again." That was it. That was the moment. The final scene in this emotional sitcom from hell. I took the remote from her hand, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "Thanks. We were missing this." Jenna and I couldn't figure out how to mute our TV every time a ghost from the past tried to speak. Then I closed the door. And just like that, the saga was over. Jenna and I spent the rest of the night eating Thai food and watching the bear in complete, glorious, remote-controlled silence. The dog curled up between us. I'd like to think even he knew we'd won. So Reddit, AITA for not opening the door again? Because frankly, I think some doors aren't meant to be opened twice, especially when the person on the other side is just handing you back what was already yours.